blah, 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 blah. Watch out. I didn't need the patience. I've blah, 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 blah. Collapse. Don't you get too close, or I'll blah, 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 blah. Break up. Stick it up your nose. Blah, 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 blah. The end.
Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian. Sorry I haven't done a video recently. A lot of things have kind of happened a little bit. Work and car trouble and all that stuff. So a lot of things sort of came up that I wasn't be able to do this though. Do a video though. But I'm back, and I'm back to do another video. This one is going to be, or my 2 cents one. This one is going to be a look back at gaming in 2015. And in this one, we're going to do it into 3 parts. Part 1 will be about the good. Part 2 will be about the controversial stuff that happened, or at least the ones I thought were controversial. And finally, number 3. It's going to be the bad. What was not so great this year in 2015, though. All right? So we'll start off with this one, part 1. We're going to look at the good stuff. So what was good this year, or at least what I thought was good this year, though? Well, we'll start things off with the 3DS. Apparently, despite the rise of smartphones and tablets and so on, the 3DS is actually doing very well. And this year, last year we saw the launch of the new 3DS that improved some of the 3D, the 3D slider and all, although I don't know how many people use that now, still use it though. And the addition of sort of the C-Stick though, which I've tried it before, and it's not that bad or anything. And well, despite what some people thought, all handhelds are dead or anything, obviously the 3DS is still doing well. I mean, according to the VG charts, it has sold about 50 million units, and it's still going though. Now, it hasn't reached the original Nintendo DS sales yet though, but obviously, what was thought to be dead when it was launched back in 2011, it seems to be doing very well, and it seems to be selling very well for Nintendo. So, good for them. Good that the 3DS is doing well. I like it, though. And so, good for that one. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about is Splatoon. Now, introducing a new IP can be a little bit risky, though. I mean, sometimes it may or may not work, though. And so Splatoon, of course, like anything, was a new IP, and no one knew if that was going to do well or not. But obviously, at least according to VG charts, the game is performing very well, and I think that's a very good thing. As far as the game itself, though, even though I'm not big on multiplayer games or anything like that, I gotta give Nintendo credit for this game, though. I really gotta give them credit for creating something that is a different take on the whole multiplayer shooter thing. Instead of the traditional type of approach, you take out your target or play certain things like capture the flag. The whole concept around it is sort of like paint how much territory can you paint with your ink and all. So it's a very nice idea, though, and it's a very interesting approach to it. So I have to say, good for Splatoon. I'm glad it's doing very well, though. Hopefully, I do believe that we may see a new franchise, and who knows? I mean, this is a little too early to say, though, but I do believe that a Splatoon 2 will probably happen, though, given the success of the game. I don't think we're going to hear anything about that one for a while. I highly doubt Nintendo's going to release a sequel or do a yearly release, though, which I hope they don't do that, though. Okay, so at the very least, though, but for now, I have to say, good for Splatoon, and good the fact that IP took off. Which also brings me to the next one, since I mentioned Splatoon, is the fact that Splatoon, along with other games like The Witcher 3, Hyrule Warriors, and Dying Light, in my opinion, this is the next one, though, is the good use of the Season Pass and DLCs. Now, excuse me, Season Pass and DLCs are not exactly a great thing for a lot of gamers, and I don't disagree with you. we've seen, like pre-order bonuses from like pre-order this and get exclusive to this and all that stuff. And then we saw, Square Enix's poor augment your pre-order, in which they took the idea of crowdfunding for their upcoming Deus Ex Mankind game, only to suffer a major backlash about it and then eventually pull that, which good. I mean, good for consumers though. All right. But I have to say, if any games did DLCs and seasons pass better, I have to say these four games did a really good job with it, and that is Splatoon, Witcher 3, Hyrule Warriors, and Dying Light. Though we'll look at first of all with Splatoon. Nintendo did, which I thought was very good, was that they offered a lot of updates, and a lot of DLCs have been for free, and that obviously that means that they have confidence in their product, that it's convincing a lot of people to continue to play it, continue to buy it though, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, I'm not against the idea of DLCs, but I understand some of the criticism about it, but I like the way how Nintendo handled this one though. And of course, for all this, I mean, we'll have a link in the description. You could take a look for yourself on some of this stuff. The next one is the Witcher 3, which kudos to that game winning game of the year though. Fun game though. I think I made that one number 3 on my top 10 games released on the PlayStation system though. What I liked about The Witcher 3, and I gotta give credit to CD Projekt Red for staying true to their words though, is that they've offered a lot of free updates and contents to it. A lot of updates from some missions to upgrading some of the the weapons and all that stuff, and offering the expansion packs, which at a good price. I think it's like $24 or something. I could be wrong, so if I'm wrong, let me know. But it's certainly way better than the outrageous $50 season pass EA is charging for Star Wars Battlefront. I mean, this to me at least shows that the developers were confident, not only confident in their game, but were true to their words, though. And I respect that, though. I'm hoping with their next game, they'll do the same thing they did with Witcher 3. So hopefully, fingers crossed on that one, though. So good for them, how they handled The Witcher 3. And kudos to Witcher 3 winning game of the year, though. The next one, part of that is also Hyrule Warriors. Now, Hyrule Warriors, of course, is a Warriors game with a Zelda skin. And no matter how you look at it, though, if you don't like Warriors games, this one won't change your opinion. That said, it is still a good game, especially if you have it on the Wii U. Not to mention it's coming to the 3DS, I assume, this year. I've heard about it, though. But what I liked about how they did the Season Pass this year was they did a very good job with it, though. I mean, already the game has enough content to keep you busy, but they also offered a lot of the stuff in it, offered in terms of their Season Pass. I think some of it was like $17, which is not a bad deal, though, that offered more content in it than already the game that shipped when it came out, I think, 2 years ago, which did have plenty of content to keep you busy, though. So I like the way they handled this one, though, Hyrule Warriors, and I do believe with the upcoming Extreme Legends Hyrule Warriors, some of the content in there will also be available for the Wii U. I think that's what they're doing. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's what they're doing. And so I have to say, good for Nintendo, at least on this. So, and one of the few things I will praise them in 2015 was that they handled the DLCs very well. Both Splatoon and Hyrule Warriors should be applauded for how they handled the DLCs and the Season Pass, though. And finally, this one was kind of late to the party, but definitely was a really good use of it, though. And I have the link in the description. You could take a look for yourself, though. Is the announcement of Dying Light Enhanced Edition. Now, whether you like Dying Light or not, that is your opinion, though. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. But regardless of what you think of it, though, it certainly actually sold well and did perform very well. And the announcement of an enhanced edition was announced. But what made this one very interesting is that if you already have a copy of the game, if you already have it, Supposedly the enhanced edition will be available free to download, though. I have a link on the description. I believe that's what it says, but you could take a look for yourself. But it will be available for free, and I applaud Techland for doing that. I think that's a very good thing that they are allowing people who already own the game. You know what? We're going to give you the update for free and everything like that. They've earned my respect. Same with CD Projekt Red, though. So I'm very happy that at least there are some developers who didn't act like greedy ass bastards and actually did DLCs and Season Pass correctly. Both CD Projekt Red, Nintendo, and Techland should be applauded for what they did. And I hope going into the future they do the exact same thing like they did with these games in 2015. Okay? I don't know if they will, but I hope that they do, because right now I have to say you guys earn my respect for handling DLCs and Season Pass much better than what we've seen from other companies, though. Alright, the next one I'm going to talk about, which was a positive this year, was crowdfunding. Alright? Now, before I begin this one about crowdfunding, I want to give a full disclaimer right off the bat. I want to be very clear about this, okay? I am a believer in crowdfunding. I have backed crowdfunding projects before. I have backed some. I don't know if I clicked on some of them where put your names on the credits. I think some of them I did, some of them I haven't. But I have backed several projects before, like Shovel Knight, Mighty Number 9, and some of these other ones, and 3 of these that I'm going to mention, I have put money towards it, and I believed in these projects. So I want to give a little disclaimer, and the reason why I'm doing that right now is that when these projects do come out, and if you see my name in the credit, I don't want people to think that, oh, I'm praising this because I'm being paid by, you know what, Playtonics to talk about ukulele. No, I'm not. This was my money. I put money down towards these projects, so I want to give a full disclaimer about that right off the bat, so you guys know right in advance. With that said, I will say this was basically a good year for crowdfunding in 2 different ways. With 3 games that actually got the best attention. The latest one was I think it's Individual or Invincible. I have it written. I'll have a link to it and you can see for yourself. Basically, this one was an Indigo project that was created by the folks who worked on the game Skullgirls, a fighting game, though, and that one performed very well, and that one's happening. But the 2 that got the most attention this year was Ukulele by Playtonics and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Now, these garnish a lot of attention because of the way these were handled. With Playtonics, with Ukulele, this game took off when it crowdfunding right off the bat, because it was made by the same people, former staff that worked at Rare, excuse me, that created, games like the Donkey Kong Country trilogy for the Super Nintendo, to the Banjo-Kazooie games and all. And they showed off a lot of the assets of what they could do and what they could perform, of what they were working on, and that really attracted a lot of people, though, and got a lot of people's attention. And the other one, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which to me is a spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the 1997 release on the original PlayStation, though. This game also took off as very, very well. I, myself, and others donated money towards it, and eventually it came to the PS4 and Xbox One. Then we started to learn that a Wii U version was going to happen if it reached that stretch goal, which it did, being developed by Amateur, made up of members who worked on the Metroid Prime series, though. And we also know it's coming to the Vita, and so on. So both of these games had something to show because they were able to develop trust to it. With Bloodstain, they were able to communicate with the staff, communicate with fans, be honest with them, open with them, show off a little bit of what they are working on. With Ukulele, same thing, and they showed off basically an early concept of it that clicked with a lot of people. It also shows that there is an audience hungry for these type of games. They are still hungry for it. That I guess they're not. I guess for a lot of them, we're sick and tired of seeing every game have to be like Call of Duty all the time, or like Candy Crush or Clash of Clans. So that's good. Now, that's not to say crowdfunding is not without its criticism. Okay, crowdfunding still isn't perfect, and there have been cases of scams and all, like the guy who wanted to make a potato salad. Though we've had that, and we've had also cases where people mismanage the budget for a lot of these games. So crowdfunding is not without its controversies. I won't disagree with that. Okay, but I am a firm believer in the concept, though, and I do believe that when done correctly, crowdfunding can be a good thing, and it allows these developers who want to create these kind of games, but a lot of these publishers don't want to back it up because it has to be, if it's not going to sell like 10 million copies like Call of Duty, we're not going to bother with it. So I think this is a good thing. I really am a believer in crowdfunding, though, and I have to say, excuse me, good for crowdfunding this year, though. All right, the next one we're going to go up to is Bethesda Software. I have to say, if any developer I think actually performed well this year, or actually did well in terms of E3 or something like that, Bethesda did. I mean, a lot of stuff they showed off and what they had presented, such as like, Dishonored Definitive Edition, but also a sequel, Dishonored 2. Fallout 4 definitely got a lot of attention. That certainly raised some eyebrows. And of course, Fallout Shelter, the ISO game. But in an overall, I have to say, as far as E3 or as far as Bethesda Software did, I had to say they had a good 2015. I mean, they had a lot to show, a lot to present, especially, of course, with Doom and all that stuff. So I have to say, good for Bethesda. Good for, that 2015 was good for them, though. Here's to hoping that 2016 is also good for them, too. Whether they do an E3 this year or not remains to be seen, though. But overall, good work for you guys for 2015, though. Which brings me to the next one about it. It's going to be Fallout 4 and Fallout Shelter. Fallout 4 was actually, and I did a review on it, though. It's on my YouTube channel, so you can check it out, though. Was actually a good game. I mean, a lot of the hype surrounded it, though, and while it still had some issues, though, with some of the bugs, although I didn't run into any bugs that crashed the game or anything, the game, in my opinion, was an improvement over Fallout 3. It felt and played better and all that stuff. I mean, it could be overwhelming, but it still was a fun game, and I have to say, it sold well, and in the most awkward and funny thing ever, it sold not only well, but it got people away from watching porn. This is true. This is I think a Pornhub site stated that they saw traffic of porn drop because people were watching Fallout 4. I mean, if I find the story, I'll put it up in the link and you can read it yourself. It's very weird. So, good for Fallout 4. But also, in the most interesting way, they also released an ISO game called Fallout Shelter, which is also actually a good ISO game. Now, it is a mobile game. It is available on your like iPhones or your your smartphones and tablets though. And I know not everyone's a fan of mobile games. I know everyone doesn't like the idea of it, it's microtransaction, pay to win and all that stuff. But having played the game, I feel Fallout Shelter actually is one of the better uses of the free-to-play model and better uses of the better free-to-play model and better uses of the ISO. I mean, if I'm saying that correctly, though. I mean, basically, unlike, say, a game like Clash of Clans, where basically you have, not only you have your currency, but you also have, gems. And in order to get these gems, sometimes you got to pay to get them. And unfortunately, it's sort of like a pay-to-win kind of scenario. We've seen in a lot of games. Fallout Shelter takes a different approach with that. Instead of paying, instead of having two currencies, you only have one, which is the caps, though, which you can earn very, very easily. And there's no waiting periods like other games are. There's no like wait an hour or wait 10 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that, unless you send your Vault Dweller out into the wasteland or something like that. And the free to play model is that it's based off the lunch boxes. Now, you could earn these in the game or you could buy them. And each lunch box is random. So each one will have a different thing. It could have more currency, more energy, more water, more food, armor, or weapon, or even a new person. So each one of them is random. So you never know which one you want. You never know which one you're going to get, though. But it's set up in a way that it doesn't feel like a Clash of Clans game. It doesn't feel like you're being forced to put money out there all the time, though. So I do applaud the way they handled it, though. And it's one of the better uses of the ISO games out there. So I would say take a look at that one. Take a look at Fallout Shelter, though. All right? All right. Coming down on the list. And so I got about 4 more. And so we're going to go to the next one. And that is Mad Max. Now, Mad Max is kind of interesting in 2 ways. Interesting in several ways, though. This is a rare occasion where we have, a movie and a game license both doing well. Too often, whenever there is a movie, every time a movie comes out, a movie license game is not far behind. And when that happens, though, 99% of the time, the movie license is going to suck. And that's basically true. Every once in a while, a movie license game tends to do actually good. I mean, there are good movie license games. It's rare, but they are actually very good. The Super Star Wars games for the Super Nintendo were good. I think the Indiana Jones Great Adventure was good. Spider-Man 2 was actually good as well. King Kong also was good, the 2005 version. And, of course, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. That one is also good. And I'm going to say Mad Max is thrown into this as well. Now, Mad Max, I did a written review on Amazon.com, though. And while the game isn't perfect in any way, and it doesn't do anything new, what it does do right is that as far as a licensed game go, it does a better job with it. I don't feel like when I purchase the game, I don't feel like, okay, I'm being suckered into, I'm buying a game, movie license game that just plays poorly, or they just wanted to rush it out to meet the movie. No. I applaud Avalanche Studio for taking their time, at the very least, and making the game function and work fine. And I think that makes it one of the better uses of the movie license out there. It's also number 7 on my top PlayStation games of 2015. So kudos to both the movie, which was good, I loved it, though, and the game as well. I think this was a rare case where both of those actually did good. So good work for Mad Max, though. Good work for both of them. All right. Excuse me. All right. We're going to the next one, and that is PS4 reaching 30 million copies, or now it's gone up a little bit over the holidays, though, and that's very impressive. I mean, it's still impressive to this day that it managed to reach that much, and it's managed to do that well. And I think a lot of the success for the PS4 has to go with the fact that Microsoft and Nintendo screwed up so badly at the beginning. I mean, it did, and it gave this opening for Sony to take advantage of right away. And the gap is so wide. It's at this point, though, I don't see them catching up to Sony at all, at least as far as the 8th generation of consoles go. I mean, as far as that goes, I think Sony is clearly the winner of this one, though. I mean, I'm not saying the Xbox One is failing. Obviously, it's doing better, but it's nowhere near the level that the PS4 is, though. Which is both good, but at the same time, it's also a bit of concern, because when Sony eventually, and I do mean eventually, decide to talk about the PlayStation 5, I hope at the very least the success of the PS4 doesn't go to their heads, because we've seen this scenario played out before, and sometimes it can have disastrous results. I mean, look at Nintendo. Look how well they let the success of the original Wii go to their head, and when the Wii U came out, look where that is right now. Look where they are right now with the Wii U, though. I mean, and that could easily happen to Sony. I'm not saying it is going to happen, and I'm not saying I want it to happen. I don't. So I'm happy that the PS4 is doing well, but I'm hoping the success of the PS4 doesn't go to their head. So I'm really hoping that they've learned how the system has become success, and that when it comes to the PS5, when that time comes when they have to talk about it, though, hopefully they won't shoot themselves in the foot like the way Nintendo and Microsoft did with their systems going into the 8th generation of consoles. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm not saying it could happen, but I'm hoping it doesn't happen to Sony when that time comes, though. But overall, good for them. Good that the PS4 is doing well. And we'll see how 2016 plays out for them this year, though. Hopefully it plays out very well, but we'll have to wait and see, though. All right, we're down to the final two. And the next one I'm going to be talking about is YouTube doing something about these copyright strikes. Now, the copyright strikes are kind of interesting because I've seen videos before many times, and whether you like some of the videos being critiqued by some people, whether it's Total Big Stick or Jim Sterling or anything like that, you can agree or disagree with them. But what really annoyed me a lot was when a lot of these companies decided that they did not like that these YouTubers were talking about their videos and decided to use a copyright strike as a weapon. And I think to me, that is wrong, because I am a firm believer that freedom of speech applies to the internet, and I believe people should have a right to express their opinion, no matter how way out there, idiotic, or offensive it may be. Now, they deserve to be criticized when they say those kind of stuff, but they shouldn't be censored or silenced in any way. And what some of these people were doing were censoring people like Jim Sterling and like Total Biscuit for saying stuff. Whether it was the Day One Gary Survival, whether it was the Skate Man Intense Rescue, or whether it was the Slaughtering Ground. I'll have a link of those to those descriptions. You could take a look at them. Though they have a right to express their opinion online, and I'm glad YouTube is finally waking up and doing something about this. At the very least, though, it's a small step. Make no mistake, it's not a big step or anything like that. It is a small step, though, but I do view it as a step in the right direction, and I hope that it sends a message to basically that other companies that pull this kind of stunt are not going to be able to get away with it again this time. So, good that YouTube's doing something about it. It's a small one, but hopefully this will lead to a change in the way these copyright strikes are being handled and all. Earlier on I said number 2, but I accidentally skipped someone. It is number 3, though. It is. So, before we get to the last one, there's one I wanted to do that I accidentally skipped, though. And that is Steam refunds. Now, I have to say, though, that even though I'm not a PC gamer, I prefer consoles over PC. Nothing against PC gamers. I'm sure people who enjoy gaming on PC, that's fine, though. Alright. But I have to say, I like what Steam is now doing, and I think it's a good step, though, and that is the whole Steam refund thing. Now, there are still some details, and I have a link to the descriptions, and you can see for yourself. It's a little too early to see how well it plays out, though, but But I am glad that Steam is doing that, and am glad that consumers are now going to have a voice, and that if a developer puts out something shady or god awful or bad, though, consumers now have a weapon to use against them, though, and it's going to send a message that we're not going to accept this anymore. You give us a better product. You give us a better product, though, that actually functions and works, and we'll give you our money. If you give us a shitty ass product, we're going to demand a refund, and we're going to take that hard-earned money of yours away. And I'm glad that Steam's doing this. I really am. As someone who's against anti-consumer practices that some of these businesses do, I think this is a step in the right direction. Now, I think some details still need to be ironed out. I think there's certainly some areas that need to be addressed. But I like that Steam is doing this, though. It's a step in the right direction. And I do hope to see Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony one day implement something similar to this, though, okay? Again, it's not perfect. I'm sure there's certain details to be ironed out, but it's the right direction to go. So I say, good for Steam that you're doing this, though. All right. We're now going to the last one. And this was number 1 on my top PlayStation games of 2015. And I have to say it was a good year for the game Bloodborne in 2015. Okay, let's get something straight about Sony, about this one, okay? If there is one weakness, I would have to say, one weakness, that Sony has as far as the PS4 goes to this point right now, is the lack of first-party games that they've had. Without those first-party games, they have to rely on third-party games to carry the weight of the PS4. And unfortunately, a lot of the first-party games that have been released up to this point, though, have not been met with positive, either with mixed or not so much positive results. I mean, Knack, for example. Now, I like Knack, okay? I like platforming games. I enjoyed it, though. Unfortunately, as much as I enjoyed Knack, though, it wasn't a system seller or the reason for you to go out and buy a PS4, though. Killzone Shadowfall was okay, but it wasn't exactly amazing. I mean, visually it was amazing, but it wasn't exactly mind-blowing or great or anything like that, though. Infamous Second Son, good game, though, but didn't carry a lot of behind it, though. It was still good, so I still enjoy it, though. Though maybe not as good as the first Infamous, but still an enjoyable game nevertheless, though. Driver's Club unfortunately got off to like the worst start it possibly can, with it being buggy and glitchy and unplayable. Of course, now Sony fixed that, though, and you could thank Ubisoft taking the spotlight away from that game thanks to the debacle they did with Assassin's Creed Unity, though. But still, that was unforgivable for Sony to launch a game like Driver Club in that kind of condition, though. It's fixed now, but still unacceptable. And then you had the Order 1886 debacle, which I'm going to get to in the bad, which will be a little bit later, though. So, Bloodborne was really the game, in my opinion, PS4 really needed right now, as far as first-party games go, okay? And it was the number 1 game on my top PlayStation games in 2015, and believe me, it's a fun game, but it is hard as hell. I mean, believe me, if you've played the Dark Souls series, you know what you're gonna get yourself into in this one. If not, if you've never played the Dark Souls series before, then all I'm gonna say is, I hope you have the patience, because you will be dying a lot in this game. Believe me, I've died a lot. Trust me, I ain't perfect. It's fun, but I ain't perfect. But it's the kind of game that Sony really needed on their PS4 right now. A good quality first-party game. And Bloodborne was really the one to deliver that. So, good that that one performed well. It also came with, I think, the Old Hunt DLC, which is available, though. Alright. And good for that game. Alright, so this concludes part 1. Take a quick little break, and then we'll go to part 2, which will be about what I thought was controversial in 2015. Controversial in 2015. So I'll be back for part two, and I will see you soon for part two. Then, all right.
I didn't mean to do it lovely in my head. I tried to be a child, but got a bit hopeless instead. The world is very sexy, it's part of my collapse. I'm talking to the something, blah blah blah.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed a bit of a break. Now I am back, and for the next part of our look back at 2015 in gaming, we're now going into part two, the controversial parts. Now, out of all the controversial things that came out in 2015 regarding gaming, though, I have to say there were three that I thought got the most attention, or three I picked, though. All right. We'll start first with the first one is the Xenoblade Chronicle X controversy, though. As some of you are aware, the game came out, though, and of course it's a good game. Did a review of it. Recommend you pick it up, though. But the thing that got people's attention about that game, the thing that got people's most attention was the decision by Nintendo to censor certain things. Now, I'm not saying the whole game, but the part where it comes to create your own character. That and one of the characters, Lynn's age, which has went from 14 to age 14 to 16, but the costume she wore, though, that was one of the controversy. The other one was the customized character. When you picked a female avatar instead of a male one, you couldn't adjust the size of the the female's character's, breast or anything. This led to some people shouting censorship, and this led to, believe it or not, a online petition on change.org asking Nintendo to ranging from changing Lynn's age to keeping her costume to bringing back this feature. Basically, the whole adjusting the woman's breast on your avatar, though. Personally, while I can understand the criticism against Nintendo doing this, and I do think it's kind of stupid considering there have been other games that have done this before and no one's made a big deal about it, at the same time, I just don't see it as a big deal. I mean, I'm still able to play the game. The game hasn't been censored or changed, or anything hasn't really changed that much since I've played it, though. Maybe it's me. Maybe I see it a little bit differently than other people do. But as far as this controversy goes, I don't view it as nearly as big of a controversy as some people have. I know some people will disagree with me and think it is, but as far as the Xenoblade Chronicle X one, I'm not looking at it, though. I'm not seeing anything like that. All right. So with that one, I'm going to go to the two that really got people's attention. The next one we're going to talk about is Hatred the Game. Now, this one raised some eyebrows, and this one's sort of gotten a lot of people's attention. And I do have a link to the trailer and on it, so you could take a look and see for yourself, about it. But basically, the whole premiere of the game evolves around the idea of basically you play this mentally disturbed person who doesn't care about anything. He's willing to die if the cops shoot him. So in other words, you go on a shooting rampage and killing as many people as you can. That's pretty much the premiere of the game, though. And this sparked a lot of controversy for some people, ranging from, why is Steam selling this to why this game exists or anything like that. And some have even gone as far as using it to portray, that video games promote violence and everything like that. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, and this is my honest opinion about the game, and I want to be very clear about this, okay? I'm not going to encourage people to buy it, but I'm not going to stop people from buying it either, okay? I do believe people can decide whether or not they agree with this kind of taste in this game or not, and people can decide whether this is what they want to spend their money on. Okay? So this is in no way saying in any way am I telling people don't buy it, or I'm not here to tell people don't buy it, or I'm not here to encourage people buy it, okay? I believe you guys can make up your own decision on that, okay? As for my personal opinion, and again, my personal opinion alone, I believe it's a poor taste, though. I really feel a little uncomfortable. I don't feel offended by the game, but I don't like the subject matter. I'm not a big fan of the idea of what developers were thinking when they were creating the game Hatred, though. I mean, to me, it's poor taste. I mean, it's just as bad as when someone thought it was a good idea to do an RPG based off the Columbine school shooting that happened back in 1999. I just am not, don't like the idea, though. I mean, I'm not against playing as the bad guy, but if I'm going to play as a bad guy, I'm going to play a game that has good taste. Like, I'll just whip out an old copy of Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, and play that instead of playing Hatred the game, okay? Again, it's your call. You can decide if this is the kind of game you want to play, and if this is the game you're into, that's your call. My personal opinion, though, is I think it's a poor taste in a game. And I really think it's a very, very poor taste. And I think it was probably the most controversial one of 2015. Although I think the next one I'm going to bring up is in second place as well. All right. With that one out, I am going to talk about basically, let me see, get these ready for an example. The last controversial one of them all. Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3. This certainly got attention as well from the game that came out, ranging from the trailer and from PlayAsia saying they're going to sell the game, which last time I checked, it was still up for pre-orders on their page when I checked it before. And there are people who are there are some people who think, you know what, like, some are calling it offensive, others are not, some are accusing the other side, this and that. As far as my thoughts about Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball, and I have links of the descriptions, you can read it yourself. Here's the thing. No matter what answer I'm going to give on this one, people are either going to think either I'm offending them, or they don't disagree with me, or they're going to say, oh, you're an SJW, or Gamergate at me, or anything. So, again, this is my opinion alone, okay? I am for women's rights. I believe that women should not be treated as second-class citizens. I am a pro-choice person. I believe an abortion should and always be a woman's decision, even if a woman chooses not to get an abortion. I believe no woman should ever be prevented from getting an abortion, nor do I believe any woman should be forced to get an abortion, okay? So, I am for women's rights, but I'm not an SJW fan. I am not a fan of Annie Sarkeesian, or Brianna Wu, or Zoe Quinn, okay? While I agree that a discussion can be made about the portrayment of women in media, though, I think I at the same time do agree that this is Koei Tecmo's game. Koei Tecmo does have a right to make this game Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3, okay? Whether consumers agree with it or not will be their decision and their call. They could choose to basically buy the game if you want to. As far as blacklisting PlayAsia, I do not agree with it, okay? PlayAsia is not doing anything morally or anything wrong, okay? They're not like, say, supporting some fringe right-wing group or anything like this, or fascist or militant group or anything, or doing anything illegal. I mean, all they're doing is just selling a game, or most likely the Asian version of a game. So I don't see anything wrong with them doing that, though. As for the game, and so I just don't support the blacklisting. I mean, I'm not going to criticize PlayAsia doing this. I mean, if they want to sell it, let them sell it, okay? If I criticize them, I'm going to be called a freaking hypocrite. I mean, for God's sakes, I play this one that I mentioned on my list, on my PlayStation list. I play a game like this, and even a game like this. So why the hell should I criticize them? Why should I criticize PlayAsia for selling this in the first place? As for it being offensive to women, okay, I know not everyone will share my view on this or not, but I'm just not seeing it. If anything, the game almost looks like a video game version of the Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, okay? I just don't see the game being offensive or anything. The only criticism I have is that I just feel that the only game selling it is really... I'm not a big fan of a lot of the mini games. I mean, as I pointed out, if I'm going to play a game with fan service, which that's what Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3 is, then, as I pointed out, I'd rather play something like this or play something like this instead. At least with these two, I mean, there is gameplay. There's actual gameplay. I just feel like this one's just really a bunch of mini-games collections. But, again, there is an audience, and I got nothing against this game existing or anything. As for it being offensive, like I said earlier, I'm not seeing it in any way. Now, you know what and again, my opinion... You know what I find more offensive than Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3? Excuse me. People who make comments such as saying oh, Barbie's Dream House is a game girls play, which I know some female gamers and they do not share that view, no. Or the famous Todd Akins comment where he talked about a woman's body can stop rape, which is, quote, outrageous and idiotic. Or comments, or when people who want to push to deny a woman to choose, such as the funding Planned Parenthood, over the fake edited tapes about the baby parts, which also paved the way to that shooting in Colorado over that Planned Parenthood about that nutcase who shouted baby parts, though. Or Donald Trump's outrageous comments, whether you like her or not, that's your call. Hillary Clinton going to the bathroom, or the comments he made about Megyn Kelly, though. Then again, this is Donald Trump we're talking about, aka the attention whore who happens to be one part Jim Jones and one part Adolf Hitler. Excuse me. And in case any of you ask, yes, I did say that, though. And I have no regrets saying that, okay? Those I find more offensive to women than Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3. Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball 3, I do not see, excuse me, nearly or anywhere offensive as some people claim it is. But I will end the Dead or Alive one on this. As with hatred, I'm not going to encourage people to buy it, but I'm not going to stop people from buying it, okay? While I agree the demographic in video games have changed, it's not a guys-only or kids-only product, and that more and more women are getting involved, I will also defend Koei Tecmo's right to make... excuse me, coughing. I will also defend their right to make this kind of game, okay? And if this is what you truly want to spend your hard-earned money on, fine. This is what you want to spend money on, that's fine. That is your call. Personally, it just doesn't interest me, but again, that's my opinion. And, oops. Even if PlayAsia decides not to bring this game over, you could be sure people are going to find a way to import it. And being that the PS4 is not region locked, people will find a way to import it and play it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do YouTube videos of them playing it on their US PlayStation, thumbing their nose at SJW crowds out there. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but... I know it's a bit of a stretch, but I wouldn't rule that out if that were to happen, though, alright? So, anyway, this concludes the controversial side of it. Part 3, the last part, we're coming up, and we're going to be covering everything about the bad, what was not great about 2015 in gaming. So I will see you when we start part 3 after this break. All right?
And blah, 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 blah. I'm drinking too much, blah, 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 blah. I'm feeling really blah blah. I want to blah blah blah. Collapse. And in the end it means I blah 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 blah. The end. I didn't mean to do it. It lovely in my head. I tried to be a child, but got a bit hopeless instead. The world is very sexy. It's part of my collapse.
Alright, and now, alright, folks, I hope you enjoyed that little break as well. Now, we're on to the meat and the bones in this one, in this video now. The last one of them all, the bad. The ones that, unfortunately, did not perform or did not do well or did not get the greatest response they should have gotten this year. And there were, unfortunately, some out there that I thought didn't do as well as they should have gotten, or some created a response that unfortunately wasn't the most positive response out there. We'll start with the first one, and that is The Order 1886, though. In a way, I kind of feel sorry for this game in lots of reasons. Excuse me. I wanted this game to succeed. I really do. I like the whole universe. I like, the whole steampunk, alternate history, and it was a title I was looking forward to. But then the controversy over of it really started to kick in, and that was when a YouTuber basically did a speed run of the game, and it turned out he was able to complete the game in 5 hours. This led to a fury of backlash against Ready at Dawn on this, and this raised the question of how long should a game be? And not to mention, given the price that it is. It was also later clear that, while great that it's a single-player game, though, the fact that there wasn't any replayability, anything, it was just like, that's it, other than the trophies and everything. And that didn't sit well with a lot of people, though. Now, Ready at Dawn tried to defend it. They tried to do what they could to defend it, but the damage was already done. And after the game came out, it not only did not sell very well, it basically, I heard, it went into the bargain bin very quickly, and then rumors started to emerge that Sony and Ready at Dawn were going to part ways, and it's really sad because I really like this game. I really do, and I won't say whether I really wanted this game to succeed. I really, really wanted to, but the controversy just killed the whole thing. Killed it, and I think that's really unfortunate what happened to it, though. If there's any funny thing that came out of this, were two funny things that I thought was kind of interesting, though, was hip-hop gamers' decision to compare the criticism and reviews of the Order 1886 to racism, and not to mention Rich from Review Text USA's very interesting response. I'll have a link in the description. You can see that as well. And the one that I personally think is the funniest one is the Japanese version, what they changed in terms of regarding the sex scene in the Order 1886. I kid you not. It's strange how they changed that. And again, I'll have it in the description, and you can see for yourself exactly what I'm referring to. So, unfortunately, Order 1886 could have been good, but it just got that whole issue with how long the game should be really ultimately killed it. And I think it's really sad, though. It really is. All right, with that one out of the way, we'll go to the next one, though, and that is Sega in 2015. And unfortunately, this year and the past has not been great for Sega for a lot of reasons, and a lot of people have not been happy with the way Sega has run things recently, though. Of course, we all remember the disaster that was Sonic Boom Rise of Lyrics, how bad that one performed, and the backlash Sega got after they tried to use a review embargo to prevent people from finding out just how broken and bad the game was. I mean, that controversy certainly hurt them, though. And then, of course, Alien Isolation, which, while certainly made up for what happened with Colonial Marines, because of Colonial Marines, it pretty much damaged this game in terms of sales wise. It did not perform nearly as well. Not to mention, Sega didn't have a booth at E3 in 2015, so it wasn't a good year for Sega, though. But if there is one bright spot out of this, is that recently their CEO has recently came out and openly admitted, it's my cat though, openly admitted that they've betrayed the fans. They realize that, you know what, we've lost your trust. We want to win that trust back. We want you to buy our games again, though. We want you to do that and everything else. You know, I will say this. Time will ultimately tell whether or not Sega's true to their words. I mean, who knows whether or not Sega will back up what they claim it is. So, but if their actions speak and their actions shows that they are serious about bringing about winning back our trust, then I think that's good. I hope that they do that. I wish them the best of luck. I really do, but they're going to have a long road ahead to prove to us that they are serious, though, that they want to win back their trust. But at the very least, they're willing to admit their mistakes, though, which is more than I could say about the next one I'm going to talk about, which is the complete opposite of what Sega at least tried to perform, though. Excuse me. And that is Randy Pitchford, or Pitchford if I'm saying his name correctly, the CEO of Gearbox Game, who decided to think that it was a smart thing to brag about, basically about how his company was able to talk their way talk their way out of the lawsuit over a game, aka Alien Colonial Marines, in which they misled and lied to people about the fact that they were working on it, when it turned out to be that wasn't the case. Not to mention allegations that they may have taken the money Sega gave them to make excuse me though. Ooh, coughing there. Borderlands 2, though. Now, I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not, but those are the allegations, though. And not to mention the fact that Randy Pitchford thought it was a good idea to do a ask him about certain things, especially their upcoming game, Battleborn. Well, that would have been a good idea, but other people, whether you agree with them or not, had a different response, and that was Alien Colonial Marines. And unfortunately, I'm going to say this very loud and clear, and I think he's going to have to accept this. He's going to have to, whether he likes this or not, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't care, since I'm probably a small-time YouTuber anyway, is that this. No matter what he does, no matter where he goes, no matter how many people he wants to block, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media out there, no matter whatever legal mumbo jumbo he wants to try to use, Alien Colonial Marines will never die. No matter how hard he tries, that game will haunt Gearbox for as long as Gearbox is still around. They could try all they want to, but some people are going to find a way to get them in a gotcha moment, and until the day comes when that company talks about Alien Colonial Marines and admits what they did was wrong, this game will never die. People will go after them about it, though. And they could try all they want to avoid answering the question, but it will happen. And they will have to, at some point, admit what they did was wrong. And until that day comes, people are not going to let it go. people are still going to find a way to get Randy Pitchford to talk about alien colonial marines, no matter what. And until the day comes, until they admit it, though, like I said, it will never die. At least for some people, though. Alright, the next one I'm going to talk about is Dead Island 2. And it's really unfortunate what happened to that game. Even if you're not a fan of it, the controversy of what happened with it, though, is really sad, though. The studio that was working on it, I think Jaeger, I think that was the name, recently was pulled off the project. For some people, the whole story is that Dead Island 2, excuse me, did not live up to the expectations during development, and so far we don't know who Deep Silver has gotten to replace it yet, or at least I'm not fully aware of, though. So, I can't tell you what's wrong with that game. I mean, meanwhile, Techland's doing fine with Dying Light. What, again, like it or not, that's your call. But Dead Island 2, God knows what's going to happen in that game. Hopefully we'll see it again, but other than that one trailer, though, I mean, what can I say? I'm sorry to hear that's happening to it, though. Alright. The next one on the list we're going to refer to is Batman Arkham Knight, the PC version. Now, as I stated before, I'm not a PC gamer. I am a console gamer. I prefer consoles over PCs. Again, I have no issues if you are a PC gamer. If you prefer to game on PC, that's fine. That's your call. Don't have an issue with that. What I do have an issue is when companies perform anti-consumer practices. And unfortunately, in this case, for the PC version of Arkham Knight, that was the case. Ranging from a development of 12 people from Iron Galaxy developing the PC version, to the fact that Warner Brothers thought they could simply get away with it. Then the Steam refunds kicked in, and boy, did they really, really kicked in. I mean, once the refunds started to kick in, suddenly we started to see Warner Bros. Saying, oh, we care about the quality of the game. I am not buying it. I think it was once those refunds kicked in, it was like, we got caught. And again, as I said in the good, though, I'm glad that Steam refunds happened, because I do believe that consumers should have a voice. You send us a shitty product, we should demand our money back, though. And I think that was the right thing to do. And I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that they forced Warner Brothers, WB's games hands on this. It's also one of the reasons why I didn't pre-order Mad Max when it came out. Though a good game, after what they did with Arkham Knights, I wasn't sure if they were going to do the same thing with Mad Max, though. I could say the same thing about Battleborn as well. Didn't pre-order that game because of Gearbox's history, aka Duke Nukem Forever and Alien Colonial Marines, though. And you know what's really sad? Is that this game would have been great to end the Arkham trilogy on a high note. Instead, just like what they did with Arkham Origins, where they decided, you know what, we're aware about the bugs, but we're not going to do a damn thing about it. We're just going to care about DLCs. They tried to pull that again with this one, and they got caught. And thanks to their stupidity on that one, Arkham Knights, I think, will forever be remembered not only as the final chapter of the Arkham series, but I view it as pretty much not only for Warner Brothers' god-awful DLC practices, but I view it as forever will be remembered as the poster boy on why Steam refunds are a good thing. So, good work, WB Games, on what you did with the PC version of Arkham Knights. Alright, so our next one up here is going to be paid mods. Now, this seemed like a good idea at first. the idea that if you work on creating the mod stuff, like, and this is for those who are into the whole modding thing, I think mostly for PC though, although I did hear that Fallout 4, at least for the consoles, will get mods, so it's going to be very interesting, and I am looking forward to seeing how the mods play out on the PS4 version of Fallout 4. It's also coming to the Xbox One as well, so it's going to be interesting to see that one. And it seemed like a great idea for the whole mod thing, but that got pulled very quickly. I think there were some issues with it, especially Steam taking a certain cut and all that stuff, which didn't sit well with a lot of people. And I think the backlash grew very quickly, and they pulled the plug on it, though. It's really a shame because it may have been an interesting idea if it was handled and worked properly, but obviously it's not going to happen. So sucks for those who were thinking, hopefully, sucks for those who thought paid mod was a good idea. So what can I say? Maybe I'll come back when a better policy comes out, but I highly doubt it, though. All right, the next one up is going to be Payday 2. Now, again, I'm not big on multiplayer-only games, so I'm not saying they're not fun or anything, but I'm not big on it. But the reason why this one's on this list is not because it's a multiplayer-only game, but it's what the developers did that really pissed off a lot of people, and that was they lied to their consumer base. They lied and said to them that there wasn't going to be any microtransaction, and then it turned out to be there was. This led to a big backlash, especially the people in the Payday community who were very, very pissed off at the developers. And you know what? They should. I'm glad they're pissed off about it. This is unacceptable. Okay? You should be openly honest with your community, honest with your fan base. Let them know about it, though. And for the developers to pull this off, I think the developers overkill. I believe I'm saying that correctly. But for them to pull this kind of stuff, it's really not only pathetic, but also pissed off a lot of people. And you know what? You have a right to be angry about that. I don't disagree. Even though I'm not big on multiplayer only games, but I'm not a fan of anti-consumer practices, though. And I'm glad at least the developers in some degree have changed some of their position on this and have made some changes, though. Not perfect position, but I am glad, and I hope next time if developers try to pull this again, they'll feel the wrath of what consumers can do if they try to pull this off. Remember, we could protest with our wallets. We can impact them really, really badly if they try to pull something like this again. All right. The next one up we're going to be talking about is controversial use of crowdfunding. Now, as I said before, I have defended crowdfunding, okay? I believe in the concept. I like the idea. And as I said, as a disclosure, I've backed some projects before. And I still defend crowdfunding in general, even to this day. That said, while I am a supporter and will defend the idea behind crowdfunding, that's not to say that crowdfunding doesn't deserve its share of criticism. And that, in this case, while there were some good games like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night and Yooka-Laylee, there were some controversy with other games as well. We've had, the case with Project Cars on the Wii U, in which the developers, Slightly Mad Studio, may have lied to people who were backing this game who wanted to see a Wii U version, only to find out that wasn't the case. And I think that the developers, I think that's really pathetic and sad, though. And if they're asking for a sequel, though, and they're asking for people for money, I ain't going to give them the money. I didn't give them money with this one, and I certainly will sure as hell won't give them money for what they did with Project Cars for the Wii U, though. I'll have the stories up there, and you can take a look. Shenmue 3 is somewhat controversial in a way, and I think the announcement at E3, I think, had some people worried and some people, was both excited but worried at the same time. On one hand, I think it's a good idea in terms of basically exposure to Kickstarter, Indigo, and Patreon, and all that stuff. So I think there is a benefit to it, and I think it raises awareness of crowdfunding. But at the same time, I can tell why people are very much a little worried, because it raises the question of why isn't Sony backing this? To could AAA developers pull this kind of stunt? Just like we saw with Square Enix with that augment your pre-order. Could we say, like, say, Ubisoft say, oh, you want a Beyond Good and Evil 2? Well, guess what? We're announcing a Kickstarter for it. I mean, so there is that concern that something like that could happen. Right now, we haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping that's not the case, but you never really know. Plus, there were also controversy of some of the comments made, such as, oh, we need a second Kickstarter to do a lot of the other stuff that we wanted to do, which, excuse me, didn't sit well with a lot of people. So there is sort of that big concern about that one, though. And finally, and again, I have a link to these stuff so you could take a look for yourself. And finally, the other one was Red Ash. Now, I am going to say, I am glad this game is going to happen. I mean, Shenmue 3 is happening as well, despite the controversy. But I am glad that Red Ash is going to happen, though. And that is the game that was the spiritual successor to Mega Man Legends, though. Unfortunately, there were a lot of things that really made it controversial that did not work out as well. First, you had the Kickstarter happening and the stretch goals they were asking for, which didn't exactly work as well, because their first game, Mighty Number 9, didn't come out, and people were not ready to throw money at it to fund this, because they haven't even released their first game yet. Though, I mean, case in point, let's look at this game right here. I think Divinity, if I'm saying that correct, Original Sin, though, even though this is the PS4 version, it was released on the PC. They did a crowdfunding. They met their stretch goals. They released the game did well. I mean, sales-wise, I think it did well. Plus, it got a lot of praises from a lot of people. And when a sequel was announced on a Kickstarter, people were willing to donate money to it. They said, "Look, I like the first one. I'm going to donate for the second one." So people were willing to do that, though. All right. This is the PS4 version. Okay, I mean, I don't think that was part of the Kickstarter, though. You didn't have that with Red Ash at all. You did not have anything like that. People were not willing to donate money to something because they haven't released their first game yet. Second of all, they released a prototype, which was not impressive at anything at all. I mean, it didn't impress a lot of people or anything like that. And just when it seemed like the project was going to fail, it turns out they were talking with a publisher, supposedly a Chinese publisher, to pick up the rights to help publish the game and make it come alive. And then they relaunched the second Kickstarter. This led to some controversy because this led to, were they misled about it and all that stuff? So, and that one failed miserably as well. So that one didn't succeed. So while I'm great, while I'm great that the Kickstarter, I mean, while great the game is happening, though, and the way it was handled, not so much. This was a poor, mismanaged Kickstarter, though. Really, really poor one. So, yeah, very not well done with the Red Ash one, right? All right, let's go on to the next one. Konami in 2015. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details because I think we all know about what happened, though. Silent Hill being canceled, the way they treated some of their staffers and employees, some of the stories that have come out, though. and I'll have a link to the description. You can see for yourself to basically the way they treat Hideo Kojima, especially at the Video Game Awards, where it turns out, where I'm glad they called Konami out on that though. So I don't need to go into a whole lot of details about that one. All right, so wow, that was really sad for them for what they did. I'm just don't know why Konami would do such a thing like that. And I really do hope, that this pays. I hope that those Pico machines that they were holding on, it pays off, because if it doesn't, I don't know I don't know what else that's gonna do for them. I mean, all their talented people are gone now, and they've burned so many bridges. I just don't know what's gonna happen to them. I mean, they better hope that this whole mobile game, this whole Pico machines are paying off very well, because if it's not, then I don't know what else they got left. I really do not know. I mean, who knows? Okay, I'm going to take a quick little break. I will be back in just a minute. I just got to check something very quickly. I just got to check something downstairs very quickly, so I will be right back. All right, guys. Sorry for the little bit of a delay or break. I had to check something downstairs. Just a quick check for something. So anyway, I am back though, and we're going to continue with the next part. Continue on with what was bad in 2015 though for gaming. The next one on our list is Rise of the Tomb Raider. Not doing well, or at least sales-wise, not doing exactly as perfect as people thought it would do. This one caused a bit of a controversy when it was announced as an Xbox One exclusive. There were some people who didn't like that, though. They didn't like the fact that the game was basically exclusive to the Xbox One, considering that supposedly the definitive edition that was released for both Xbox One and PS4, the PS4 version sold better than the Xbox One. So this caused a bit of controversy for some people. That and the fact that the game had microtransactions, which exactly did not sit well with a lot of people. And the fact the game also came out around the same time Fallout 4 came out, and that it didn't perform nearly as well. Now, I do have the article on supposedly the VG charts of where it stands right now, and it seems to be doing a bit better, but not enough to divert the fact that there was rumors going around that the game's going to come to the PC much sooner than people thought it would be. And then there's, of course, the rumors that rumors of the fact that some people think that it will come to the PS4 much sooner as well. Now, how soon? Who knows? And of course, there was it was exclusive on the Xbox One, then it turned out to be a time exclusive, though, so it didn't perform very well on the Xbox One at the very least, but the VG chart's showing it's doing better now, so that's good at the very least. That's very good, though. That's doing now much better, but obviously it wasn't handled the way I think Microsoft would have liked to handle it, and so on. All right, next one, Star Wars Battlefront and Evolve, or as I call it, the two games that worst use of DLCs and Season Pass. Now, again, these are both multiplayer-only games, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not big on the multiplayer-only type of games, though, okay? I'm not really into those kind of games, though, all right? I know some people are, and that's fine. I'm sure there are audience who like multiplayer, or multiplayers that are asymmetric, though, and that's fine. What really pissed off a lot of people were the use of the DLCs and the season passes in the game, though. Evolve got heavily criticized when the entire game was turned into nothing more than a glorified DLC shop. And that pissed off a lot of people, especially with certain additions, to certain what content will go to certain people and all, and that people were not happy about that. And last time I've heard, the online community on that one went down. Though, how far down, I'm not sure, but that created a controversy. And of course, Star Wars Battlefront. Being EA, though, there were a lot of people who were upset with the $60 price tag with little to no content, with a $50 season pass, which did not sit well with a lot of people, though. Now, supposedly, the game has done well, and that's really sad that a game like that would do well with little to no content, though. But, obviously, people don't care, and they just bought it. But, personally, if anything, those games were the worst examples of DLCs and season passes in 2015, and I really think it's really sad that some people are still willing to buy into this and buy it, though, considering that some of these companies, mostly EA, though, has a history of pulling this kind of crap. And that's really sad, though. So it's really disappointing that people buy into that, though. Speaking of EA, it was not a good year, especially if you were a fan of Maxis, the company that is known that created a lot of the games like SimCity. I remember playing that when that came out on the Super Nintendo, and I remember playing it on the old Macintosh, or what we had was a Macintosh Performer 450, though, so very old Mac, shall we say. And it's really unfortunate what happened to them, but at the same time, what's even more unfortunate is that Maxis was pretty much forced to do EA's bidding. And I'm sure we all remember the SimCity controversy that created, the one in which basically the always online DRM and what happened there. They're saying that single player would not work, offline mode would not work until they eventually did, but it was too little too late. And many people fear, and this is true, many people do fear that with Maxis closing, many point to BioWare being next on the chopping block. Now, whether that turns out to be true or not remains to be seen at this moment. They may have dodged a bullet with Dragon Age Inquisition, though, but we'll see what happens with an upcoming Mass Effect Armada. But given EA's history, though, given their history, I'm very cautious about that game, and so really sad Maxis has to go. Again, I have the articles in the description. You can read them yourself and take a look. All right, and finally, we're finally now down towards the last one. Nintendo in 2015. This one, as a long-time Nintendo fan, this one is very painful to me to say this, but as far as 2015 goes, this was not, shall we say, a great year for them. They had some good stuff, but a lot of the negative outweighed a lot of any positives it had this year, though. And I think some of it was controversial, some of it was the way they've handled a lot of things, though. Start with the first one. Devil's Third. Number 4 on my top 10 games of 2015 on a Nintendo system. When this game was a no-show at E3 in 2015, and this upsetted some people. This upset what happened to the game. Was it canceled or anything like that? And when Nintendo did not talk about it, was particularly Nintendo of America didn't talk about it, though, there were some worries about it. And then rumors started to fly about the game not coming here to the US, though, and everything. This led to some people to panic about it, though. It led them to question, it led to people thinking this was Operation Rainfall all over again. in which they weren't going to bring, Pandora's Tower, Last Story, Xenoblade Chronicles here to the U.S., and a lot of people were not feeling that it was going to be the same thing again. Nintendo tried to pretend this game didn't exist, and try to present it in a way that, Xseed was going to bring it over, but given their history of poor presentation and communication, that didn't help, and eventually they caved in and brought the game over here in the process of possibly, though a rumor right now, possibly pissing off Xseed and damaging their relationship in the process, considering that Xseed was willing to bring Devil's Third over here. So they may have damaged their relationship. Again, complete rumor. Don't know if it's accurate or not, so it's a little too early to say about whether or not. Well, game got released and got negative reviews, and only a limited amount of copies were sold. But in the most interesting way out there, although the game got negative reviews, users' response were a bit more positive. Even on Amazon, the game has gotten 4 or 5 stars by a lot of people, though, who have praised the game, though, as being fun, though. Now, one could argue and say, oh, they're probably just trolling and all that stuff. And to a certain degree, that's true. I have seen people troll before. I've seen a lot of these trollings on, those Amazon user reviews, ranging from Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze getting a 1 star because the ape's name is Donkey Kong, the gorilla's name is Donkey Kong, to him wearing a tie, to probably about creatism, and if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell crap, to someone giving Skyward Sword 1 star over the fact that he bought the game, which I hope he was just trolling. I really hope this guy was just trolling. That he brought the game for his son to, wait for it, play it on his PlayStation 3. That's right. He bought a Wii game thinking he could play it on his PlayStation 3. Yeah. So I've seen some of these reviews, but in this case, I'm not seeing it. I think people actually did enjoy the game. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's not awful as a lot of these reviewers have claimed it was, though. It's not a bad game in any way. And I do hope a sequel does happen. I really would hope that a sequel does happen, though. Even if Nintendo doesn't have the balls to publish it, though, I do hope someone picks up the rights and we see a sequel again happening real soon. I really would love to see a sequel to Devil's Third. I enjoy it, though. If you're still interested in getting the game, it's currently available on the Nintendo eShop, though. Physical copies might be difficult to find, so if you're looking to find one, that's good. If not, you have to go to the eShop. All right. The other disappointment I'm going to right now is Nintendo's content creator program. Now, this is sort of like, this is basically, they created this, so YouTubers can use their content for their videos and all. Well, it's not sitting well with a lot of YouTubers, and a lot of it is that you get sort of a 40 to 50% cut in ad revenues. This does not sit well with a lot of YouTubers who don't like this idea. I mean, we've seen who feel that they should deserve a bit more. Now, some debate this, whether or not it's good or bad, but I feel, in my opinion, and it's the same thing we saw with the Angry Joe with the Mario Party 10 one. I have to say, while Angry Joe should have read the content creators program, at the same time, I can understand his frustration and anger, and I do think it's kind of ridiculous that what Nintendo has done. I think they could have worked with YouTubers a lot better than create this policy. I think in the end, it alienated more people than helped more people. It'll be interesting to see how many people have backed out of this content creator program. And Nintendo eliminated possible free exposure for their lot of games. Imagine if these games got exposure from these high-end YouTubers. I mean, people would have gone out and maybe buy a Wii U. This is free marketing in a way. I mean, yes, there are certainly some checks and balance though that have to be made, but they're blowing a free marketing, blowing the opportunity for free advertisement out of this. I mean, it's a dumb decision for them to make. I mean, they have it is. It's a ridiculous decision. So, a very poor choice on this content creator program, and it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts and whether or not it eventually they pull the plug on it or they continue with it or not. We'll see how many people continue to sign up for it or not. I mean, I haven't signed up for it or anything like that, and nor do I have any desire at the moment to sign up for it at all, though. All right. 20 E3 for them this year. It sucked. Let's face it. It sucked really bad. It's not the Muppets. I mean, I don't hate the Muppets, although I think the Robot Chicken one from 2014 was better, though. Their presentation was bad. It felt like they were putting all their efforts into Mario Maker. They felt like that. They put all their eggs into one basket. They figure, you know what, Mario Maker was going to carry the entire weight of it. And as much as I think Mario Maker is a good game, that game didn't need as much advertisement as it did. Although, as a side note, that game should have came out earlier in the Wii U's life cycle, though, just to let you know about that. But, I mean, it felt like they had nothing to show. It felt like they were just stalling for time, really, in it. It was a very poor digital event, and I'll show you some of the articles that have heavily criticized it, though. And, of course, what made it worse was the late Mr. Iwata made a comment about it, but then Reggie Fils-Aimé came up saying, "Oh no, that's not true at all. That's not true at all." I mean, it made Reggie, the whole episode made Reggie look like the villain now. And there are people who are calling for him to be fired, though, at this point. I mean, so it was just a terrible presentation. Very terrible. It also felt like they gave up on the Wii U. I mean, of course, announcing the NX was sort of the final nail in the coffin for the Wii U, but it felt like they weren't even trying anymore. And that's very sad. It is. I mean, it really is. But bottom line, digital presentation at E3, extremely poor. Very poor. They're going to have to really make it up for 2016 E3. They really do. The next one on the list for why Nintendo had a bad year was Animal Crossing and Mario Tennis. And I feel sorry for these games for a lot of reasons. Mostly Mario Tennis. Animal Crossing, unfortunately, was not the Animal Crossing game people wanted, though. I mean, people wanted a traditional Animal Crossing, not this board game-like approach, Mario Party approach to it that required the use of the amiibos. Now, I understand they want people to use the amiibos, not collect them, but the way it was handled, not good. And for what I understand, it sold poorly, though. I don't know about digital copies, but physical copies, not so well. Same with Mario Tennis, though. It was heavily criticized for the light on content and everything like that. And I can't help but feel that game was rushed out, mostly because with Star Fox Zero and Zelda U delayed to, this year, 2016, I can't help but feel they had to fill in the gaps somehow. And unfortunately, these two games became the sacrifice for it. And unfortunately, according to a lot of the sales numbers, it definitely did not perform as well. Hopefully this sends a message to Nintendo. You know what? You're going to have to pay attention to your fans a bit more rather than ignore them, which is also going to raise a question about Federation Force. That got a lot of backlash, though, especially because people did not like the fact that it was a traditional Metroid. Now, Reggie could make the claim, oh, but you gotta try it out before you call it out. That may be true, but after seeing what Mario Party Tennis and Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, given how poorly that was received, though, I can't help but feel there might be some concerns with Federation Force, because we haven't heard anything about that game, which led to the speculation that either that game has been either canceled, or the possibility that they may change it due to the reaction they got for these two, though. So, who knows? But unfortunately, Animal Crossing, Amiibo Festival, and Mario Tennis did not perform very well. Very sad. Really, really sad about that. The next one on the Nintendo one, Wii U reaching the 10 million mark, and that's really pathetic. I mean, I'm sorry, but excuse me 1 second. I mean, it took you this long to reach 10 million sales. Really, it took you this long to do that. The fact that it took you this long just shocks me, though. I mean, Nintendo was living in the bubble with the Wii, thinking that they could make the same thing with the Wii U. They think that, oh, they don't have to change anything and everything like that. And amazingly, that these guys were the first one out of the gate for the 8th generation, and they screwed up so badly. I mean, hell, Microsoft screwed up badly with the Xbox One, but at least they've tried. They've tried to do whatever they can to get the Xbox One not being irrelevant, and they've done a better job with it. I will agree, they have done. Nintendo, I don't feel they've done anything. Like I said, I don't feel they've made any attempt, and it just, the fact that it's now reached, I think it currently sits at 12 million, but the fact that it took them this long, and the fact that they were thinking they're going to reach 9 million by March 2014, and the fact that they suddenly, oh dear, the fact that they screwed up, it's really sad. I mean, it's great that they've reached it now, but it took them this long to reach it, though. I mean, it's really pathetic, and it makes me some concerns about the NX. I mean, could they end up making the same mistake again? I could be wrong. I hope they don't. But not good. Not good, Nintendo. 10 million, 12 million, not good. And finally, this one is really, I won't say this as, it's a negative, but not like the other ones. This one was really a sad story for it to end like this, though, and that was the passing of Mr. Iwata, though. When I heard the news, it was, as a longtime Nintendo fan, I was kind of shocked. I really was to hear that. I mean, whether you agree with him or not, he had that personality that people liked, though. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying everything he did was perfect, but he definitely was a likable person. To see him at 55 pass away, I mean, it is sad, though. As far as his job as CEO goes, I have mixed feelings. Now, I am in no way disrespecting Mr. Iwata anyway. I want to be very clear, okay? I respect the man. I respect what he accomplished at Nintendo. I respect the franchise he's worked on, such as, Kirby, Earthbound, even the Smash Brothers series. And I respect the fact that he was willing to bring Bayonetta 2 to the Wii U and Devil's Third, though. So I respect him from doing that. And I respect the fact that he didn't believe in the whole ship it broken now and patch it later attitude. So I definitely respect the man for lots of reasons. I have nothing against the guy. I think he's a nice person. I'm pretty sure he is. So I have nothing against him, though. But at the same time, he does deserve to be criticized for putting Nintendo in the situation it is in right now. The fact that it took them this long to realize the problems that the Wii U was facing does fall on his lap. Remember, he was the person at the top, and as the old saying goes, the person at the top is the one that's going to get the blame. And unfortunately, Mr. Iwata does deserve some of the blame for the current situation Nintendo is in right now. Now, I'm pretty sure he had a strategy before he passed away to try to fix this, and I'm sure it exists, though. But the fact that it took them this long to address the problem with the Wii U, though, that's really is sad, though. But again, I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. I respect the man, though, and I'm glad he also is willing to apologize and admit his mistake and willing to take a pay cut. And again, I have nothing against the guy, though. And I think but you know what's really sad? This is the part I think is really sad. He passed away around the same time Nintendo was being heavily criticized about their E3. And that's very unfortunate, though. I mean, it really is very unfortunate that he had to pass away when they were being criticized for the way their E3 was being handled, though. I mean, I really wish he didn't pass away under those circumstances. Not to mention health problems he was fighting for. It's really unfortunate, though, okay? I will end it like this. R.I.P. Mr. Iwata. I know somewhere out there you're driving down that rainbow road looking down on us, though. I do hope that you will be remembered. We will remember you from the games we play, and we'll remember you and honor you, though. I may not agree with all your decisions, but I will still respect you for what you have accomplished at Nintendo, though. So, rest in peace, Mr. Shigeru Iwata. You will certainly be missed. Overall, I do hope that Nintendo has a better 2016. I really am hoping that the bad things are behind us now, and now we're heading towards a better moment for Nintendo. But we'll have to wait and see, okay? Anyway, that was a long video, though, but this concludes what I looked at, both good, controversial, and bad, though. Again, like I said, these are my opinions, though. But tell me what you think. Do you agree with some of my stuff? Do you disagree? Do you think some stuff should have been put on that list, though? Both good, controversial, or bad? Or you're happy with my list that I put up, though? And again, if you do like what you see, again, hit the like video, leave a comment, and as always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and tell me what you think, though, alright? So anyway, this will conclude this video, though, and I hope to see you guys soon when I do the next YouTube video. I'm planning to do some more, though. I gotta have time to fit them in, but I hope to see you again soon, alright? So, take care, and bye!
Rock it.